Hello, and welcome to the Peluso Presents podcast for the week of February 27th, 2023. My name is Mike Peluso. As always, I am your host, and this is episode number 213. The title of this week's episode, and of course, the title of our post of the week is, Can You Really Be the Person You Want to Be? Now, many of you know that when I write my articles, I tend to start with a concept, and the concept sometimes, often, is in the form of the question. And this week's question is all about this thing that we have in our minds, this vision, this goal, where we want to be, whether it's physically, mentally, in a career state, especially if it's a chronic, I want to get there someday thing, and we've been trying for years, and we haven't actually got there yet. So the article kind of asks why. What are these things? And makes a hypothesis that maybe if you haven't gotten there, you'll never get there because there are things in the way that keep you from getting there. As an example, I talk about my weight. I want to be a thin person. For the periods of my life that I've been a thin person, I've loved it. The first thing, the best thing that most people take for granted is the fact that I could walk into any store and buy a shirt, and off the shelf, it would button around the neck without a problem. I could breathe easily. I didn't feel like I was choking. That was a big deal. And I'm not going to lie. Another major part about losing weight is we are absolutely positively, from a guy who's been mostly big his whole life and with a few periods here and there of thinness. When you're thin, you are perceived as attractive. During my thin periods, I've had lots of compliments. I've had lots of people hitting on me, which, of course, is like this shock. You don't expect it, especially if you're chunky most of your life. And so I've aspired to be that thin person, not necessarily for the getting hit on, more so for the shirts that fit. But unfortunately, I can't keep that up. My body just won't let me. That's one of the things that I talk about in the article. There's many others. There's mental, there's emotional, etc. There's barriers to getting us to that point that we want to be at. And I sort of survey what those things are in the article. And I talk about what those barriers are and why some of them are almost impossible to overcome. And then I sort of discuss a little bit, well, if you can't overcome them, should you just give up hope? Will you never be that person? And I have a different take on that. The answer is basically yes and no, which I know is a little non-committal, but not really. Just give it a chance, listen to it, think about it. And maybe you'll start thinking about the ways that you can get closer to be the person that you want to be after you listen to our post of the week.
Post of the week.
Can you really be the person you want to be? Often we have a dream or an idea of what we want for ourselves. Maybe it's about where we want to be or what we want to be doing. It could, and usually does, include other aspects of life. Having these dreams of a life different from what we are experiencing as we go through the grind is normal. It comes from being exposed to alternative paths and the outcomes to those paths. We commit ourselves. We are going to do it. But as you get older, sometimes years or decades will go by and we aren't any closer to those dreams than we were when we first started having them. We wonder, can we really get there? What is keeping this from happening? Often there is one big thing that gets in the way of doing or being what we want for ourselves. It's easy to see what it is. It's right there every day when we look up in the bathroom while brushing our teeth. I think some of the problems are inherent in the way the world is structured. As an example, I know dozens of dual-income families. I also know the majority of women in those families want to be stay-at-home moms. For clarification, when I say majority, I mean exactly that, the technical majority. Say I know 20 dual-income families well enough to know what the mother aspires to have in her life. i.e., a traditional stay-at-home existence. Maybe 11 or 12 of them would have women who dislike having to work and wish to stay at home and raise the children. It turns out my personal experience mirrors the information we have on the topic, which shows 56% of working moms would prefer to be stay-at-home if they could. The world, well, specifically the world since the advent of the Industrial Revolution, is not structured around supporting a huge population of single-wage earner families. If you want an average level of the basics of what the world offers, including housing, transportation, medical care, retirement income, etc., you have to be in a dual income situation, i.e., everyone in the median wage earner category has to work. By default, the median is the largest category of workers, making up the vast majority of the professional class. Now, it is possible to be a stay-at-home mom if you give up many of the benefits of a middle-class life. Nice house in the suburbs, an annual vacation at the beach or a theme park, a reliable car, etc. And that, in a nutshell, is the challenge with the aspiring stay-at-home mom being the person they want to be. It's hard to give up the things we have been socialized for. So they dream about it, they hope things will change, but they never actually do the thing they want to do unless they get very lucky in their choice of life partner. They may pull it off with extremely generous extended family support. Both the wealthy spouse and wealthy family are edge cases. We could flip this around. What if it's someone who's working head of household, but who wants to go back into extended schooling to change their career? Maybe they want to go into healthcare. To my knowledge, there are no medical programs or any other high-paying jobs that pay you a living wage while you are getting the education you want. Student loans for enough income to support a family for 6 or 8 years would take more than one lifetime to pay off. Beyond structural issues, keeping us from being the people we want to be, there are personality issues which can get in the way. I know several single people of both sexes who aspire to be in stable, long-term, healthy relationships. Often they have some sort of personality issue that keeps them from entering into healthy relationships. It's normal to be attracted to the wrong personality type when you are younger and don't know any better. It's not normal when you are older and have so many examples of healthy relationships around you. The bratty girl who can't ever find the right guy because she's only looking for Magic Mike physiques over emotional stability, or the guy who is always attracted to narcissists, are both examples of people who aspire to being something they are not wired to do. They could look at others who are in healthy long-term relationships, figure out what those personality traits are, and try to rewire themselves. To be successful, they would have to really change who they are at a core level, and that is never easy. Again, we can take this into the workplace. I am a prime example of this. I always aspired to be management, with a focus on senior leadership. I realized after decades that I don't really have the personality for it. I overshare, I don't have a filter with my thoughts, and in general, I'm not very corporate. I do still think I'd be a good enough fit once I got there, but I never really considered the personality needed to get to that point. Yes, it's about luck. That is literally half of the process. But it's also about who you are, how you present yourself, the risks you are willing to take, etc. My personality gets in the way of this. So I decided to play to my strengths. I gave up dreaming of the big corner office and the check that came with it, and decided to focus on quality of life and just be more strategic about my future. That strategic thinking and planning that I can do with little effort, others can't. For many people, the thing that keeps them from being who they really want to be is their tendency for emotional decision-making. I have many friends who have made statements like, "I'm going to be retired in 10 years and then I'm going to travel the world." Usually they will continue to ramble on about all their plans and ideas when we talk about the future. There are always exotic countries, romantic villas, and all sorts of other activities they are going to undertake once they are retired. When you take a step back, it's plain to see they are not doing anything that will get them to where they want to be. Worse, they will keep hitting the great reset switch when they wind up quitting jobs on emotionally driven whims. There are other bad decisions they make which set them back, but the job hopping and commensurate effect on their retirement funds is the biggest block. Ironically, these emotional people would be a great fit for country hopping. You just need to be able to live while you are hopping, and that takes money. Even if you are planning on working in retirement, there still needs to be a nest egg somewhere to help ease over the bumps in the road when confronting the unknowns they will encounter. Without the nest egg or the organization and discipline to develop a travel-friendly career, retirement can never happen. There are physical limitations as well. I'm going to circle back around to a personal example. I want to be thin. I really do. I work out regularly. I track everything I eat. I've lost weight on occasion, but it always comes back. My body simply keeps weight on. The doctors call it set point theory. It simply means my body has a weight it likes to be at, and there is not much I can do about it except continually keep myself in some form of starvation mode, which is a horrible way to live. I'm not alone here. There are many people with this particular issue. No matter how much I dream of being thin, how much I try, the weight will always come back. It's not just weight. Another, almost humorous example is that I would love to sing and play in a band. Unfortunately, I lack rhythm. I'm tone deaf, and I don't have the time to even see if I can teach myself to play an instrument or learn to sing. So no matter how much I dream of wanting to be a local band jukebox hero, I'll have to console myself with audiences consisting of either the instrument cluster in my car or my shower tiles. In all the cases I've cited here, what people want, including myself, flies in the face of reality. There are substantial issues that must be addressed for people to become the person they envision for themselves. Some of these issues can never be overcome. On the face of it, this makes the answer to the question of, can you really be the person you want to be? A probable no. But I don't think it should end quite there. Maybe I'm being an unrealistic optimist, but I do think there are ways we can get to where we want to be. We just need to change the target. We have to accept who we are and adjust accordingly. I may not ever be Skinny Mike again, and although that makes me sad, I can definitely be Healthy Mike. I may not be able to sing, but I have started to explore how to put on a show with electronic music. A friend of mine who wanted to find Mr. Right is ever so slowly coming to the conclusion that he doesn't exist. Some of the aspirational stay-at-home moms I know are starting to see that it's not the panacea they thought it would be. The next step is for them to start to appreciate what they are getting out of their jobs. I do think age and experience helps this process along. And as the years go by, we may all find that the person we see every day brushing their teeth isn't much of a problem anymore. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Peluso Presents podcast. You can follow the Peluso Presents efforts via Twitter @PelusoPresents, on Facebook, on Medium.com, just search for Mike Peluso, on LinkedIn, and of course on the blog located at www.pelusopresents.com. You can email us directly via peluso@outlook.com. This podcast is available on all major podcast services, including iTunes, Google Play Music, or your podcast service of choice. We love and appreciate any comments and reviews you wish to leave. Please remember to support this effort by sharing and liking the postings on all your social media. If you'd like to support this effort more directly, you can via patreon.com/Peluso Presents. Thank you for listening, following, sharing, and for your support. We appreciate it.